Hey guys, Rob here with McDojoLife, and the man you just got done watching choke himself goes by the name of Captain Mina Adel. Sorry, wrong Adele. Better. Anyway, before we dig deeper into Captain Adel, we need to take a look again at that choke defense and give this man some credit. One, choking yourself and then passing out in your assailant's arms might actually stop them from choking you because they just wouldn't expect that. And two, this isn't the worst acting I've seen when it comes to this particular choke defense. I mean, you guys might remember the Lady of America choke defense video.
You're just gonna sink right on down.
Wow.
Jeez, that hurts.
See, it could be worse. I looked up his Facebook and I noticed that it has over 1.5 million followers. According to that bio on that Facebook page, he teaches self-defense conceptual training, Wing Chun, and Aki. I found this super odd because on a lot of his videos, he teaches in a Sistema shirt, but he doesn't add that to his resume. On other videos, he has a Shotokan shirt on with his name directly under the logo, and he doesn't put that on his resume. He teaches out of a Muay Thai gym, but for some reason, that's not on his resume. And finally, the only real credential I could seem to find on the guy is a Kyoshu Jitsu certificate, and that's not on his resume. But let's be honest, adding Kyoshu Jitsu to your resume doesn't actually make you look good. His school's name is called Modern Self-Defense, and the tagline is, "It's not magic, it's physical." That slogan is extremely confusing when the man posts videos like this. To be honest, the magic trick might be the most real thing on his page. He has tons of nonsense self-defense stuff, like this one for example. In this video, you can see he's teaching self-defense if someone grabs him by the hair. Right. Moving on. In a lot of his videos, he likes to do the no finger thing whenever he's showing what not to do. And what's always hilarious to me about those particular videos that do the no finger thing is whenever they do it, it's clearly something that you should never do in the first place. It's like quite obvious not to do that thing. So I decided to make a couple of those tutorial videos myself and show you just how ridiculous that is. Back to the techniques. This one is hilarious to me because you can tell he kind of has the right idea, but his execution is horrendous. You can tell just through the awkwardness of the movement that he probably maybe saw this online one time and never really tried to apply it, and then decided to do a tutorial on it. I think what he was going for here was to roll under the shot and throw a little body hook as he went by, but it just doesn't really work out that way. It just kind of becomes this odd seizure-like motion. It just seems clear to me that this guy has never boxed, and yet he's still trying to show a technique executed horrendously. So it's like right idea, but done so terribly off that it would not be effective whatsoever. Kind of like this next one. As you can see, he's performing a rear naked choke fairly well. Doesn't take a lot to learn how to do a rear naked choke properly, but as he's doing the rear naked choke, the guy's got a freaking knife. Call me crazy, just my 2 cents here, but what if hypothetically the guy who was trying to stab you with a knife start stabbing you with a knife. You do the rear naked choke and all of a sudden you start getting stabbed in the thigh or stabbed in the arms or even stabbed in the face. It's going to really suck for you. I have a saying I use all the time, and it's situation dictates technique. For instance, walking. A technique we use all the time. Gets us from point A to point B. Try that on the land? Good. Try that on the water? Not so good. The same thing can be said about swimming. Swimming in the water? Works just fine. Swimming on the concrete? You're going to look like a moron. Rear naked choke? Good. Rear naked choke with a guy who has a knife in his hand who's going to stab you repeatedly? Not so good. Honestly, dumbfounded that he's trying to pawn this technique off as any type of legitimate. I'd expect to see this technique in like a Three Stooges movie or a Jackie Chan film, but not as a self-defense tutorial.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Why are you still hitting yourself?
What? That is ridiculous. I have so many questions. Like, for instance, why the hell did the guy drop the knife? There was like no reason for him to drop the knife. Were the punches just so furious that the guy had no choice but to lose all control of his motor functions? And probably his bowels? And wouldn't the guy start stabbing you? You know, the guy who was threatening you with a knife all of a sudden just forgets to stab you? That would be the whole point of him having the knife, is to cut and stab you. Here's a really fun contradiction the guy has as well in terms of knife defense. In one video, he tells you, don't push the knife. And in another video, he says, do push the knife. But Rob, the knife is in a different position. That doesn't matter here. Whether it's on the front of the throat or whether it's on the side of the neck, as you start pushing that elbow, that knife is going to trace its way around your neck because your wrist and your elbow bend. So you're just going to do the work for them. You're going to cut yourself. His gun stuff, not much better. For starters, the way he holds a firearm, especially after he has disarmed that firearm, shows that he has absolutely no firearms training whatsoever. As you can see, every time he's done with a disarm, he holds the barrel. He actually puts his hands around the slide itself, which is a major issue. Let me explain. This is my buddy, Mr. Glock. Me and Mr. Glock have been homies for a long time, and we're here to talk to you a little bit about why the way he handles that firearm is dog. For safety purposes, there is no magazine. As well, there is no round in the chamber, and you can hear it right now. No rounds, right? Completely empty. I will still treat this as if it's loaded though, because that's one of the rules of gun safety. This is the slide. Once you pull the trigger, gun goes off, bullet goes out, and another round is now chambered. Round gets ejected, a new round is loaded, and then it's going to rack back. So every time you pull that trigger, it's going to go boom, boom, every time. One thing that will cause it to not do that is having a limp wrist. So if you go ahead and pull the trigger and your arm's just kind of noodly, chances are good it's probably going to jam. The other thing that might cause it is if you're actually grabbing a hold of the slide, not allowing it to do its job to feed the next round. So while you might disarm the firearm, bam, it's now jammed. You did not allow it to cycle the next round. So when you actually perform a disarm and you grab a hold of the slide, yes, that first round is going to go off, but you've now created a jam. So if you yourself are holding the firearm like he has been holding the firearm, you yourself are going to cause your own jam. Also, during the disarm, if you were holding the slide at all, which you most likely were, there's probably already a jam. So before you're able to even make this an effective weapon again, you're going to have to clear the jam. And then now you can fire again. Now, getting back to the actual disarm techniques themselves, I find this one to be probably my favorite. Did you catch that? That's right. He literally tries to do the gun disarm after the guy has already pulled the gun away, which is more simulating what would really happen is the gun going off as he tried to reach awkwardly for this gun. Let me show you an example of how that technique would really go down. Time to give this guy some Dillmans. This guy has put out hundreds, if not thousands of videos of self-defense tutorials online. He has amassed over 1.5 million followers on his Facebook, all while teaching absolute dog shit. He has so many video tutorials, it would be impossible for me to sit there and pick out every single bad video that he's done to break down why they're bad. I would be here for days having to dissect all the crap he has put out to the world. So I'm giving this guy 3 out of 5 Dillmans. The man's been able to teach children this crap. And of course, how does any cult work? If you get them young, the possibilities are endless. So he can start teaching these kids young, then of course they grow up through his system of made up nonsense. And then after they do that, maybe they go on to expand and grow his empire. And now the question of the day, brought to you by X Martial. Why do so many martial artists lean so hard on their lineage instead of standing on their own 2 feet? A lot of martial artists out there like to say they have a black belt under so-and-so or they studied under so-and-so. Yet they themselves have really not done much. There are martial artists out there who try to use their instructors' names to give themselves some form of validity when they themselves really don't do much at all. And in some cases, they've received the rank and then they just kind of let themselves go. They sit around, do a whole bunch of nothing. Meanwhile, they still want to get that credit for the other person's name. Why do you think that is? Be sure to answer that question in the comment sections below so that way you could be entered for a chance to win a $100 gift voucher that could be used at xmartial.com for martial arts apparel. As always, thank you all for the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, and memberships. Keep the martial arts legit.
My baby got robbed the other day by degenerate. So she wanted to learn some new form of this self-defense. So she did her research and perused it online and found this dude said he could move shit with his mind. He called himself Seafood Paul Zimmerman. He got a dojo with a strip mall near Cinnabon. Now she spends all day trying to break boards with her thoughts, but the only thing she's breaking is my little heart. Things just haven't been the same. Living strange since my baby joined that dojo. Joined a McDojo. Now she tries to